time anyone else. Please keep comments civil. And what's up, Michael Falkenberry?
Good evening, Michael Falkenberry from 19 Ticket Circle. Just want to commend the town staff and the deputies for a great job July 4th parade. I think it's one of the best ones we've ever had. Outstanding weather. Whoever's idea it was for the video, thumbs up on that. Great job. Good job. I also want to thank Mr. Sadek, our town manager, in addressing the Crooked Creek Playground safety issue. Hope to see some resolution happen with that as well. Thank you, sir. Also, like to thank Councilmember Mark Wireman, though he's not here, for making a comment that it was $60,000 or a little over for the Barker Jones invoices. But by him saying that, it's not on public record, on record, as how much money was spent for a report that was paid by taxpayer money, a report that cannot be seen by the public. So just keep that in your thoughts. Also, recently I have obtained several months of emails from a former town council member. And the reason I do this is to find out what the truth is. You see all the drama that takes place in public. You don't know what the truth is, falsehoods, fact conviction, and that's why I do this. In those emails, there were no emails sent to that former town council member regarding the inappropriate Facebook comments. Out of 5 months of emails, 0 were sent complaining about it. 0. One staff member did send an email to her asking to meet. I will not reveal that town staff member. I guess you can understand why. Don't know what became of that meeting, if the meeting didn't take place. It was just arranged. Also in those emails, it shows a lot of drama behind the scenes. Drama that is unnecessary because we should be professionals here. We've got elected officials who should know better, been involved in politics for a number of years. And it just is amazing that we still keep going through this every 2 to 4 years. Nothing changes. Now, as I'm seeing now on social media, it has come to my attention again. Mr. Falkenberry is now cyberbullying once more. And I'm going to tell Mr. Wireman, even though he's not here, that if I see any more references to that anywhere on Facebook, you had better produce evidence of that fact. I've already put up with one person already sitting before me with false accusations, and 2 former town council members with false accusations. I am not going to stand for it. Nor will I stand for the person who's running the Indian Trail Overwatch Facebook page, who I know who it is. Here's an idea who it is. I try to keep it civil in the hornet's nest. That's why some of the members, I do apologize. I had to remove all of them so it would show favoritism. It was getting nasty behind the scenes. Somebody other than myself is approving membership they shouldn't have. If you want to reapply, you're more than welcome, but please, I want discussions. Not smackdowns and not memes.
Time's up, Mr. Falkenberry.
Thank you.
Mary Lynn Roca. Did I say that correctly?
I didn't hear you.
Oh, then I guess you can state your name.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Town Council members, my name is Mary Lynn Rollatter. But I reside at 5025 Old Monroe Road. I'm sure most of you serving on the council are aware of the proposed super street that is slated to be constructed on Old Monroe Road in the next couple of years. It consists of a wide median splitting 4 lanes of traffic in 2, along with bulb U-turn turnarounds. This whole idea is very disturbing to me as a resident living on Old Monroe Road. This design is not only a waste of space and money, but it will also adversely affect every single resident already living on Old Monroe Road, not to mention those who regularly travel the road. I have not spoken to anyone other than DOT reps that is in favor of this plan. Look at the Charlotte section of Old Monroe Road, where traffic flow is the heaviest. It's only a 4-lane highway with no median. The original plan for the so-called super street was for the Matthews area all the way down to Wesley Chapel Scouts Road. Well, I found out recently that the town of Matthews was able to get this road changed over to just a 4-lane highway with no U-turnarounds or bulbs. This was due in part to the leaders of Matthews coming together and demanding a change of plans. I stand before you this evening asking the same of you. I have written letters, I've attended meetings, none of which seem to matter. So I'm turning to you. Indian Trail is made up of many wonderful leaders and people, and I know we can all come together as a community and make the same demand. Additionally, I know that some funding for this project is coming from the town of Indian Trail. Each of you has a voice, and I hope that you use it for the betterment of Indian Trail. While something does need to be done to help with the traffic, we do not need a super street running through our residential family community. Highway 74 Super Street has been mentioned several times this evening. It makes more sense in a business and industrial area than it does in a residential area. It's not a sensible solution on Old Monroe Road, in my opinion. I'm willing to help do whatever I can to get these plans changed over to just a 4-lane road. And I know others, many others, who are willing to do the same. Please help keep our predominantly residential section of Indian Trail from becoming a major thoroughfare. Thank you.
That brings us to I'll close the public comments and bring the law enforcement update. Captain?
Glad to be here. Thank you. Had a little episode. Apparently you can be allergic to a yellow jacket sting at the age of 41 after not being allergic to it 2 weeks prior. So, ambulance ride and an ER visit later, the doctor says everything's good. So it's good to be here. I've got a couple of things I want to pass along through the mayor just to send around the table. It's the middle of the year, so we're halfway through. It's going to be hot weather. So, just want to give you guys a little bit of an update on some of the stats and numbers. I don't have any good, funny, dumb, crook news tonight, so I'm going to be quick, and then Patrick and I are going to discuss a little bit about the contract meetings that we've been having and some of the discussions, but just some of the things I wanted to throw out there. So far, as of the end of June of this year, we've had 2,769 alarm calls that went off here in town, and predominantly those over 95% are false alarms, so this is my good public awareness is that, you know, if you've got a landscaper coming over or maid coming in the house to clean up or a new employee at a business, make sure you tell them how to turn the alarm off so that we can save time and put toward other things. We had 35 illegal dumping calls, which is down from the past few years. We've been to ourselves as Sheriff's Office to 178 medical events so far this year. A lot of those are overdoses that we've mentioned in previous meetings. We've had 961 suspicious events where we've had a person call in for a suspicious vehicle and things such as that. 805 domestic disputes have been answered by deputies here in Indian Trail so far this year. 1,470 nuisance calls or disturbance calls. We've had 1,309 well-being checks that we've performed on houses and checking on people that their neighbors or their co-workers haven't heard from them. We've assisted other agencies, Charlotte, Stylings, Monroe, other surrounding communities that may have an investigation going on here in our city limits, 346 times. We've had a break-in and robbery type calls, 463 that we responded to this year, 555 assault-related calls, 488 animal-related calls. So a little pie chart for you guys just to kind of breeze over and look at. I'll give a mic and we'll import some of this onto the town website as well.
Can you explain escorts?
Escorts. We do a lot of funeral escorts. We do a lot of my wife don't like me escorts. I need to go get my toothbrush. I left my fishing pole at the house, and we divorced 3 years ago. I'd like to go get it back because me and my buddy's going fishing. Keep the beach type escorts, but we do a lot of funeral escorts. Pretty much at least once, if not twice a day, we're doing escorts around town. Now, we don't charge for that service, but if we don't get involved in it, then we wind up having motor vehicle crashes. So that's what
That's predominantly most of that, I would think, or more than half, I would think, right?
So just moving over to flipping over to the next page there where you've got the yellow and the green and the orange, just broke it down by month. And you guys are familiar, some of you may not be, but this past April we split our town up using the railroad from north to south for response districts for us and for dispatching purposes. My hopeful goal long term, and we're a little bit early in on it right now, but long term, I want our deputies that are assigned to work up here in Indian Trail that are on your side of the track, so to say, for you to get to know them better and them get to know you better. Before, we were like ping pong balls. We would go all the way from the Wilco Hess truck stop up here on 74, out to Antioch Elementary School and back up to Charlotte National Golf Course, just all over the place. And we weren't dispatching by geographical as much as we were by who was available. So with all the traffic that you have to fight through, we have to fight through, because if you see us running lights and sirens on a car, then it's bad, because most of the incidents that we go to, we're going to it routine traffic unless somebody's got the potential to have a loss of life or a grave injury. And then sometimes we end up having to go to those without lights and siren, depending on the nature of the call, in case we need to get there without alerting somebody that was close by. So with that being said, our response time for this past month on the overall average was 9 minutes and 17 seconds, and that's for every type of call for service. If you call in and say, I was out of town on vacation, my mailbox got knocked over 2 weeks ago, all the way up to, hey, I think I'm being robbed. Across the board, those are calls for service to where you say, hey, give me a phone, give me a call whenever you get a chance here in a few minutes. It goes into a pending pattern and sits over there until the deputy gets available for it. So we had 1,117 calls for service last month, 1,957 self-initiated activities. Those are traffic stops, business checks, residential checks, which bring me to my other public announcement, is that if you're going on vacation, feel free to call our office, and we'll do an alert on your house to where deputies will come by in between calls for service and do a residential check on your property. You leave a key holder information, hey, my neighbor Joe, he's got a key, David's got a key, whoever's got a key. If we find something that's out of place right there, then we'll call those folks, they'll get in touch with you. Unfortunately, we do sometimes find where people's property's been either vandalized or broken into. But for the most part, by having that extra activity around there, that hopefully will discourage the neighborhood kids from coming out and knocking over your mailbox if they don't like you. So far this year, Indian Trail deputies have arrested 265 people in town. I hope that's none of you. We've taken 1,554 incident reports, issued 1,089 citations, and those aren't just traffic citations. Some of those could be citations to somebody for not a motor vehicle violation. For instance, if you have a teenager that's having a graduation party at his house and other people there that are under age of 21 and they all have alcohol or something, then most often those would get citations if parents are willing to come pick them up. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances, they may end up getting brought down to the county jail to get picked up by the parent. But citation can be anything from a traffic motor vehicle violation to something like a misdemeanor larceny at a gas station or something like that, where somebody walked off with a candy bar. We've had 10,929 of those self-initiated activities in total so far this year. And field contacts is on that last chart down at the bottom, 6,487. Now that's the times that the guys are riding around and they say, that guy over there in that sweater vest, I don't know him. He don't look like he's from around here. Let me pull up and check with him. Get an ID from them, initiate conversation with them, find out what they're doing either in your neighborhood or out in the business area, and log in that information, his tag number, his driver's license number, any other contact information, running for warrants, check to make sure he's not wanted from somewhere else. A lot of times those are mundane routine tasks. A lot of times we come back up and say, hey, we had a rash of car break-ins over here in this neighborhood, and look, somebody the night before at 11 o'clock checked on somebody, and they logged her in, and her name was Shirley. So we go see Shirley. What are you doing at 11 o'clock at night? Where all those car break-ins are. So, those field contacts are very important for follow-up investigation and stuff. So, with that being said, I think we're going to transition and let Patrick take the ball for a minute.
Thank you, Captain. I'd just like to report briefly on the meeting that we had with Sheriff Canopy, Chase, and the Finance Department of Union County. It was very productive. We discussed the service, we discussed periodic reports that we could rely on, how to move forward with future plans. We discussed index of fuel, materials, all the services that they're providing, the number of individuals that we have. We're looking at a 4-year contract, also why wait until next year to renew it. We're thinking about proposing to council go ahead and renew it right now and start the 4 years, so that way we like Chase and his team. Other than that, I think it was exactly to our expectation, and we'd like, as soon as we get the numbers from finance, we'll bring it before you, we'll review and approve them, and then if everything is okay, we'll execute and turn it back to the account.
So just as an open dialogue of some of the stuff that we've done, we went through the contract, and some of you may be familiar with the Governor's Highway Safety Funding that we got a few years ago. There was a lot of amendments and a lot of extra wording that was in that contract now that really didn't apply anymore. So we went through, and Patrick and I kind of bounced that thing back and forth like a tennis ball for a little while And we took out a lot of that wording, and then the biggest thing that Patrick touched on is that we've had some interest from council about getting county finance to lock in a long-term rate throughout the entire period of the contract, which makes for easier and better planning. So I've actually met a few minutes the other day with the county manager and explained to her the thought process behind that. She was all for the willingness of trying to look and compare it both ways, and she had a little bit concerned that, hey, it may be a higher rate, going into it. And I said, well, let's at least pull the numbers and look at it. We'll present it back to you guys, let y'all look at it, and then kind of figure out how you want to go from there. Certainly anything that we've done thus far is not committed you to doing anything right now. It's just trying to get the wording right before we bring it to you. I would say if anybody has any questions or any concerns or anything at all, any early on input in there that you want to say, hey Chase, why this or why that, feel free to call me. Feel free to email me, call me, whatever else. I'll come by your house, we'll meet at Johnny K's, whatever, and try to sort through that. But we've been blessed working with Patrick throughout this whole process, and Jim and Mike, and it's just been a very, very good, a lot of dialogue going on, and feel like we've made a lot of progress. So unfortunately, the county has been working on their budget and just now got it passed a couple of weeks ago at last minute. And so now we've finally gotten to where we can get county finance to working on that locked-in rate and trying to see how they're going to project that out. So we've I actually got an email right before I came in here trying to schedule a meeting for that coming up pretty soon. So hopefully by the next meeting we'll be back to you. Yes, ma'am.
What about the germination time?
What we looked at doing was, and this is what preliminarily I put in there was, I know after the conversation that the sheriff had with you guys, it's always been to where even if it was a 4 or 5 year contract, there's an out for everybody to be able to get out of it. One of the things I think is always a concern for the town and for the county end of it is it's a business arrangement. So if either side were to want to get out of it, there's obviously got to be some planning done. You can't do it at last minute and pull the plug on it because it's going to impact these people sitting out here greatly. And that's what you and I are going to make sure we don't happen. So what I did was I put a 12-month notice on it. And the 12th month, the last day of the 12th month would be the termination time. So in other words, if you came up mid-month, then it would be 12 full months after that. If we came up and said, hey, we're out, then we give you 12 months notice so that there can be some planning done, if that makes sense. So, and any of that stuff, when we bring back to you, you may have a better idea than me and Patrick, so feel free to throw it out there. We don't have a problem with that at all. It's your contract. All right.
And I think Sheriff Kathy that was what he wanted to, with the termination time.
I like this. Can we get it more than just twice a year?
Absolutely.
I mean, I would like to get this monthly, to be honest with you.
I can give it to you. I can give it to you monthly, weekly.
I figured also, what I would like is probably to work with the town on these zones and maybe put the number of residential, a percentage of residential, a percentage of business, because one side of the track has more residential than the other, vice versa on commercial. So it'll be good when digesting these numbers to know the percentage of residential and commercial on each side.
That's right. One of the things that we talked about yesterday is trying to do that for, especially whenever we look at
Great minds think alike.
That's exactly right, because Patrick had just brought up yesterday, and, we've gone the full gamut of, and that's what I was explaining to Patrick yesterday, we've gone the full gamut of, I can give you a lot of information, or I can give you a little bit in a dashboard type view where you can snapshot and see it. So we can do whatever, but certainly there is so much information on our website that's available that Mike and I have been talking about, we're gonna link up and put on there too, but you hit the nail on the head with a lot of your stuff that you've got to make decisions on too. It helps you try to figure out what kind of hotspots you get.
It's an excellent dashboard.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Brings us to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Boys made a motion, all in favor? Let the record stand, it's unanimous. Brings us to public hearing for a conditional rezoning variance for CZ 2017-0025 Pressley Animal Hospital. Mr. Bradshaw.
Good evening. This is Preston Animal Hospital. The request before you today is approximately 2.86 acres. It's located on Chestnut Lane. The existing zoning is SF1, the Village Center overlay, the Rezoning is neighborhood business district, the Village Center overlay, and the applicant is Dr. William Pressley. The intent is to demolish the existing house on site to construct an animal hospital. This picture is the existing structure on site next to the single-family residence. This picture is looking east on Chestnut Lane, currently a 2-lane road. This is looking west on Chestnut Lane. This is an adjacent single-family residence. And this is an adjacent single-family residence across the street. This is a zoning map, parcels outlined in black, single-family 1. As you can see, everything adjacent to the property and across the street is single-family 1, low-density residential. This is a concept plan the applicant submitted, proposing a 4,000 square foot animal hospital with associated parking, approximately 26 parking spaces, with 1 access onto Chestnut Lane, and then the remaining of the parcel would remain undeveloped. This is the future land use map. The star is the approximate location of the proposed animal hospital. Future land use maps calls for this area to be a mixed-use area. As you can see, it's located west of the intersection of Chestnut Lane and Old Monroe Road. Because of the location of the parcels, staff felt this was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff felt more transitional uses were more appropriate for this area of the Village Center overlay and its mid-block location along Chestnut Lane, and recommends disapproval of the conditional rezoning district. This went to the planning board on June 20th. It received a 6-to-1 vote for disapproval, and the main reason was for the reason I just stated. It would set a precedent for commercial uses along Chestnut Lane. And this case is a little different than others, so the first motion, if you decide to approve, you'd have to make consistency findings, as read in the record by staff, and I have that slide if you do vote approval. And then the second motion would be to go along with staff or for disapproval or recommend approval for the project. That concludes my presentation. Sir.
I have a question. You said staff said it was, there was no commercial between Potter's and Old Monroe on Chestnut?
No, it would be, go back to the, that one right there. So Potter Road's over here in Austin Village in this area.
Right, right.
So in the overlay, the only staff would see commercial more along the intersection of Old Monroe and Chestnut Lane, where currently there's a lot of commercial down in this location. With this being mid-block on Chestnut Lane, just adjacent, the adjacent properties are single-family residential.
Okay, because I don't wanna argue that now, because I live in that area, and I know, Chestnut is, on that side is mostly commercial, so I just couldn't understand if it would be consistent to what you have on the corner of Potter's and Chestnut. Across the street, you have the Walgreens, and you have Austin Village across the street.
Can you go back a few more slides?
And my question is, how far away from that part of the commercial would this animal hospital be?
So
That's Old Monroe Road.
Potter Road and Austin Village is over
Right.
here.
Yeah, show them where Old Monroe Road is.
So between Potter's and Old Monroe, is it in the middle of Chestnut or going further more towards Old Monroe?
It's right there.
It's close to Old Monroe, but staff is it's a mid-block between Old Monroe and Potter.
Well, that is going towards residential, but the bigger question is when they start to widen it, what's gonna be, but that's out of, I guess the next question, what would be how would the building be? Would it look more like a residential house, animal hospital, or would it be more like a commercial type of house, residential?
Dr. Pressley touched on that when he
And this looks more like a residential home animal hospital. So it would,
He's
to me,
proposing
it would fit
a
in.
building that's in presidential character, that's correct.
Okay.
And what is slated for widening?
At this time, I'm not sure when,
Is it slated for widening in the future?
I'd have to defer to transportation
Is that
staff,
part
but
of
yeah,
the-
yes.
Plan in the future?
That part, Mr. Mayor, will be abandoned from approximately from where the property is at. There'll be a straight line coming to Monroe Road and connecting to the phase 3 of the extension.
So that's gonna go all the way through from Matthews, eventually,
Yes.
through to 74,
Are we talking about?
Chestnut.
Chestnut will be all the way from Matthews Indian Trail to Gribble, to Monroe, and then to where the property is at, because we're trying to.
Yeah, and then Potter Road from, and Chestnut Road from there goes all the way through,
Right.
past the Harris Teeter into Matthews, and then
Agreed.
cuts over towards Ballantyne.
That's correct.
So it
Mr.
will
Mayor.
eventually be used as a main road. That was the sole purpose for spending all that money on Chestnut Lane.
The proposed cross sections of 4-lane boulevard.
People will use it if it's built. Okay. Dr. Pressley's been a positive impact on this town for a long time, and has always given top-notch service and provided a stable and clean area for his services. I personally think it would be a travesty to lose him as a member of this community, and thinking forward in the town, that road's gonna be used as a thoroughfare, and that land along is gonna become very valuable. So,
If I could add something, Mr. Mayor.
yeah,
There is commercial right on Chestnut and Old Monroe. Trying to think of the telephone company.
that's on the other side. That's across. On this side, they use, I believe, a childcare facility. They use
You're talking about Potters and Old Monroe.
Chestnut Lane. Oh, you're talking about Potter Road.
I'm talking Chestnut Lane from Potters to Old Monroe is where, and then
Yeah, there's
Old Monroe.
commercial that starts at Potter
Right.
Chestnut, and
Right.
it's slowly
Right.
moving down towards Monroe Road.
Right.
There's different parcels, little by little, being bought up and
Right,
buildings being built.
but on Old Monroe and Chestnut, there is a commercial facility, and there are also commercial facilities on Old Monroe going to a store.
Yes.
And that's where staff sees commercial uses, is at Chestnut Lane and Old Monroe at the intersection, but not this far on Chestnut Lane.
I would like to ask our attorney, did Rox talk with you today at all about any sort of different zoning for that? He said he was. I was just curious. I hadn't had a chance to talk to you about it. And what did you come up with? Or is there a possibility of different zoning for that?
Probably, but it would have to go through a process.
It would still have, okay, because he wasn't aware of that, I don't think, so.
It would have to go through a process.
So I'm lost, I'd like to know.
Okay, if you'd be happy to, would you explain to him what?
I don't know exactly the details, Rox might be able to better.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
if you
but
would
Rox,
take
I
my-
swear I was looking for you. I never saw you.
I'm trying to hide
You're
from
right
here.
there
I'm
the
trying to
whole
hide
time,
from
man.
here.
I would have said, I'm sorry, I would have said something to Rox. I didn't say
So what we, so what we discussed was there is another zoning classification in the UDA referred to as rural single family, it's RSF. It's kind of our low density zoning classification. If you ever look at the map, I don't see one here, but it's the dark green color. You see it, again, low density. And so it does allow veterinary offices within it. And so one conversation we had and conveyed to Dr. Pressley is that you could always downzone this property instead of upzoning it to commercial. You could downzone it to this rural classification, so less intense from a zoning district standpoint, but still be able to construct the veterinary office use. So the conversation with our town attorney was just whether or not we could do that as part of this process, since you are going downward in intensity versus upward. But she felt, that it would not be appropriate to consolidate that in this process, that it'd be better for another application. That is like accurately having that.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Ross? With the zoning solution you just mentioned, would that better fit this project, in your opinion?
I think for the reasons that Mr. Bradshaw was explaining in terms of establishing a commercial district there and the potential future that could have in that area, I think it would be a better solution for, kind of managing and guiding, the growth, down and down the road. And again, it would still accommodate his business, but it would, on the flip side, require it to go back to, the application, go back to the process. So there would be some time lost, for Mr. Pressley's standpoint.
And was this discussed with the applicant?
Yes, if I may, we did meet with Dr. Pressley. We invited him in, I think, a week ago. We discussed all processes before him, so he's well familiar with this second process.
I mean,
And by the way,
before
I just asked the question today, Gary, this afternoon, as a matter of fact, so I was fixing.
So, I guess I'm really curious on what avenue the applicant wants to go in now that he has all this information.
It's obvious, he's here, ready to do it.
Yeah, but I think what I hear from the attorney is if the applicant wants to go to the route of downgrading the zoning, that we would kill this one, he would go through the application process again and come before council for approval, right?
Yes, and I would just recommend it be, at this meeting, that the council just votes to table this until the next meeting, and then the applicant can make a decision on what to do next with the existing application for the zoning.
And that's your opinion for us?
We're speaking to the applicant, the applicant.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And might I add, the same result is gonna come out of it regardless of which way you do. You're gonna get it, either you're gonna get an animal hospital there or you're not. So it's not gonna change anything, so, anyway, sure, go ahead.
Your whole presentation, or you're just gonna speak during the public comments?
I'll speak to the public comments, if that's all right.
Okay, that'll be fine. At this time, I'm gonna open up the public comments, same rules apply. I see there's numerous people here to speak, that live at the same address. Please pick one spokesperson, and you have 3 minutes. So whichever one amongst the group would like to speak, you can all go up there. But under the rules of public comments, you're all here for the same thing, for the same residents. And they're all allowed to stand up here with you.
I'm good. I'm the owner of 201 Chestnut Lane right here. Me and my wife moved out here 2 years ago right out of college. So you got some young people already wanting to live out here and invest in some land and grow a family. So how we kind of came about this process of potential rezoning, we had attempted to purchase this land to restore the house that was on it, and that was kind of our dream, and use it for family, etc. We kind of started that process when we moved to the land with the barn that was on the property that used to be on y'all's website. It was completely collapsed when we bought it, and the past 2 years, me and my family have rebuilt it pretty much with our bare hands, kind of just trying to restore the land use and the farmland and that kind of thing. So to cut through the chase, we've invested a lot of time to keep this residential area and had plans to restore the area residentially owned. And this would destroy that and potentially set a precedent to rezone everything around us, and we don't know what that would do to our home and value, etc. My main argument is where he currently is, which is Austin Village. There's dozens of parcels commercially zoned already to develop, where he can build his practice there, wouldn't have to go through the rezoning process and change our residential land, me and my neighbors. And that's just 8/10 of a mile down the road. So we already have an established area for commercial development, 8/10 of a mile from our home. And so with that not being fully developed, we never anticipated this quickly that this would be a possibility that Chestnut Lane would become residential. And that's really the gist of my argument. There's adequate room for him to build a facility right where he is, and not displace numerous single-family homes. So thank you for your time.
Hey, how are y'all this evening? I'm Dr. Pressley. It's kind of unusual. Today is the 6th anniversary of our open on practice today. So we're excited with the opportunity of having our practice grow. This is a letter I give to Mr. Mayor. The woman that I purchased the property from lives directly behind, and she is very much for the project, this price. So she lives right here, contiguous to us, right here, and she's for it. Mr. Vickery here and Mr. Vickery here are both for the proposed project. The other thing is, if I didn't get rezoning at all, I could put a daycare, a school, a playground, adult facility without doing anything. So I don't understand. I mean, I understand their disappointment, but if you come right here, right past here, this road's going to turn, and this is going to turn into a cul-de-sac down here, right? So it's 8/10 of a mile here, but it's only less than 2/10 of a mile to this commercial. So we're not in the middle. We're closer to Monroe. So the mid-block is not mid-block. We're not mid-block. I gave everybody some renderings of what we want to do. We want to make it look like an old farmhouse, you know, that has been there for 20 years. There's also a site plan of how we want to make sure that we are a good neighbor. We're going to put a privacy fence. We're going to make sure that we cover everything. We're going to have trees. We're going to do, instead of a 15-foot setback, which was required, we're going to do a 30-foot setback. You know, we've talked to the town about doing all the things that need to be done, do them the right way to make sure that we can provide the service that we provide, because we provide a service to a lot of animals, a lot of people that don't have the money. We work with about 85 different rescue groups nationwide. So people come to us when they can't afford veterinary care. And so we give away about $300,000 a year to the community in medical service. So we think it would be a great place for us to grow and continue that work, because we work with the Humane Society of Charlotte, the Humane Society of the United States, and we get a lot of grants and funding that we provide to the community for animals. So, I mean, I did speak to Patrick and to Rox about the downgrade, but my concern is it's another $1,500. It's another several months. I've got a lot of money tied up in this idea and dream of mine, and so for me, I would like to know if everybody's totally against me, then I'll do it that way. But if we have adequate support, I'd like to move forward.
Question for you. Where are you currently located?
We're in Austin Village, right next to Papa C's Baby Shop.
Okay, I figured.
Which, you know, when we moved in, they didn't want us there. We were here doing this with them, and you know, we were grandfathered in. And you know, by building code, you only have to do a wall 12 feet. Well, the ceilings were 16, so sound would have carried over. So we did a special attenuated wall all the way to the top, which cost me extra money, but I wanted to be a good neighbor, and they never hear a sound or a
That leads me to
dog.
my second question. In a building this size, what's the noise?
We're gonna do the same way. We're gonna do double center block to cut down on noise.
So the neighbors will not be.
They shouldn't hear a thing. They hear the dogs bark as they come in and out, but they shouldn't hear them in the hospital.
And what are your business hours?
The business hours will be 8 to 5.
And there's no after 5 emergencies?
No emergencies.
No late night?
And we're not doing any extensive boarding, none of that stuff. If anything's in the hospital, it's either sick, or we have an elderly, you know, we have clients that are elderly that go out of town that don't have anybody to pet sit, so we pet sit their pets in the hospital for free. So we do those types of services for the community.
Have you met with any of the residents in the area?
We did.
And kind of exchanged a little back and forth, like kind of put some of their fares to rest?
There's only one, parcel right here is the only issue.
Can I talk at all more? Respond to a couple things?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and I think that would be a good thing too. I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask both of them, to be honest with you, but it's an animal hospital, and I think an animal hospital is a little bit different. I think the hospital, so are you keeping dogs there overnight?
Only sick pets.
Only sick pets, but you are keeping them there overnight?
We are keeping them overnight, yes.
Because a lot of vets, you can't leave
Well,
pets overnight.
with our current arrangement, we can't keep anything that's not physically hooked up to an IV overnight. But some patients need to stay, and that's where I've talked to my landlord presently, and he allows me to keep some of these elderly patients' pets, for the weekend. If they wanna go see their family, they got nobody to take care of the dogs, they drop them with us for the weekend, and my landlord's been pretty good about it.
So you have an area to keep dogs, or animals, overnight?
Well, currently we have 4 runs, we have a bunch of kennels. I mean, we would have 10 to 12 runs indoor. We would not have any outdoor runs whatsoever. That's, something I don't believe in. I don't like these big boarding kennels where the dog can be inside, run outside, and he's barking, and he runs back inside, and he's barking, because then they're tormented all day. And they're tormenting whoever hears that noise. With us, we would have the classical music that you put inside to calm the dogs and all, and they would have, the special beds where they're comfortable, if they have to stay with us for any length of time.
That's a very good point that you have the indoor ones.
I'm sorry, I do, but in all fairness, if
That's your call.
okay, I would.
You're allowed to ask questions of anybody.
Okay, I have several.
Sure.
Got a mic?
So you got the mic? Okay.
Take a step here, so.
Kathy, I'd say this is more of a presentation than it is, and since we're talking to both of them, we want to get this right. Did I hear you say you were 8/10 of a mile from, or did I understand that right?
8/10 of a mile from his current location.
Okay, so an 8/10 of a mile is almost a mile. So you're almost a mile from the location.
Austin Village.
Oh, from Austin Village.
Yes, sir.
How far are you from location?
That's
That's
my
where
front
he
yard.
is.
That's
Okay.
technically, adjacent.
Well, that's
to
where
my-
he is now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
But-
Next to Fox.
No.
No. Currently, he's at Austin Village, which
Right,
is
I
8/10 of a
understand
mile from this location.
Oh, okay, from his
But
location.
this
Not
facility
from where
is-
you live to where the animal hospital is.
Right,
Right
this is
there.
Okay,
adjacent.
okay, all right, when you said that, I was confused.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
He's right there.
gotcha.
They're
All right,
kissing cousins.
gotcha. Okay, and what will he see? What will he see when he,
He shouldn't see anything. He'll see a line of trees and a fence when he comes in over here, and drives back to his property. And this is all gonna be, this last 1.25 acres is gonna be all grass. Well, that's where the barrier that we want. So, unless he's looking for something, he shouldn't see it.
one quick thing, you said you wanted to restore the area
Yeah.
and restore the homes. What homes?
The current home that's on the property has been vacant for a number of years. We have been told a different story than he has from our neighbors. I'm not trying to start a war or anything here, but she told me that she would love for us to have it. She grew up on that property, so there's obviously some sort of disconnect
Have
between
the same
neighbors.
property that he's buying? Is that?
Yes,
is that-
our neighbor to the left, straight
The one
behind,
behind him.
was the owner of the property.
She's the owner right here,
Yeah.
the lady that gave me the letter.
Okay, the lady that gets,
So-
so in other words, really the dispute is you'd like to have that land too, is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, sir. That was our plan, and that's how we found out. We were never approached by Dr. Pressley about this, and so I found out, reaching out to Ms. Price, who owns the property, her realtor, and he said they've been under contract out of nowhere. So we actually put in backup offers for the property in case this rezoning didn't go through and he couldn't build his property. But somewhere between the lines, it was purchased by Dr. Pressley, and we weren't even able to put a bid in or talk to their realtor. We had no calls back. So there's something going on behind the scenes here that we're not aware of, and I'm not starting to try anything, but that's just the way it's been for the past 3 months. And it's been a little frustrating, to be honest with you.
Well, I would just think that if I were a landowner, that I'd want to get the most amount of money for my house, and it really shouldn't, I really wouldn't.
I gave full ask.
Yeah, I'm sure he did, but
I
we
gave
put
full
in the
ask.
same offer.
And the
that we
property has
did.
been sale for over 8 years, on and off.
Like I said, we've lived there for 2 years, we're 25 years old. Our family came up with some funds and idea to restore the area we didn't know about. I mean, he had every right, he was already contractually obligated to the facility. So that's why I didn't feel like getting Beth involved. She was already under contract with him to buy the property. So that's why I didn't feel like it would jeopardize her in any way. But we had conversations that were obviously different than ones he had with Kurt.
Last but not least, did you purchase the property already, or is it on a contingent to put the?
No, it's mine.
It's
I own
yours,
it.
it's yours now, regardless.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Pressley?
Yeah, I got a couple things. So I just wanted to ask about this letter, and I know people sometimes, you know, have arguments, change minds and things, but this letter is dated July 10th, 2017. So that was yesterday, that she said she wanted that.
Wouldn't that have to be
Well, you can get it notarized, I'm sure, if you want.
no, not me.
I mean, I'll take it for face value. But anyways, Patrick, curiosity, Old Monroe Road down to this quadrant over there by the mayor's head, what intersection is that? Nope, keep on going, nope. Follow that down towards the mayor. Nope, nope, nope. Go toward Yep, and what's, not that one, the next one.
It's Woodland Road. Woodland Road?
Way down at the bottom where it's curved. Nope, right by you, Mr. Mayor, put your finger, nope, go to your right, go to the right.
It's a residential
Now
road.
follow that up to Old Monroe Road. What intersection is that, Patrick?
Wax on Indian Trail.
Wax on the
Oh, that one is?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm way off then. Yep, that's not what I thought it was. But I know where Chestnut is and where everything else is. So, my only comment would be that in about 5 years, Old Monroe Road will be widened. And per what the mayor said is that I can almost guarantee most of the parcels along Old Monroe Road would probably sell to commercial also. So that's something else you have to keep in mind. What's the blue area designation down there, Patrick? The blue area? Rocks, sorry. I should be asking you. Sorry. You're right here. I go to
Neighborhood business district.
neighborhood business district, right? So again, if you think out 5 years, which is 2022, mid-2022, they will probably be close, or hopefully close to finishing the widening of Old Monroe Road to 4 lanes, where you will see, almost I can guarantee, commercial starting to buy all those properties along Old Monroe Road. And I foresee also that the corner of Chestnut Lane, when that's fully developed in Old Monroe Road, will be a high-density area of commercial. Patrick, would you agree in your expertise of?
Yes, absolutely. And also, when Monroe Road is widened, you're going to feel some impact, like noise and vibration and all that stuff and lighting that it does not exist right now. And we just need to keep that in mind. And that's what makes us sort of like need to look at this commercial strip along the target corridor.
And that goes to my strategic plan that I was asking for the corridors.
Anything else? If not, we need to have motions. There's 2 motions, Rox, how's this going? All right.
Defer Mr. Bradshaw, his department.
Bradshaw, thank you, Dr. Pressley.
So we need a motion to approve the conditional zoning.
You do not need, oh, you do not need that first motion for the consistency findings,
I
right?
wasn't,
That's good?
One more. Okay, so these are the consistency findings. If you do decide to approve, that will be read into the record.
Can you go back to the page and we have to make the motion? Motion 1 and motion 2. Okay. The mayor may make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make the first motion to make the required consistency findings as read and to the record by staff.
Daniels made a motion with the consistency findings as read into record as staff, by staff. All in favor? That would be unanimous. Now, anybody other?
I'll make the
Excuse
second
me,
motion.
Mayor, can we ask staff to read the consistency findings into the record at this point?
Go back to that slide. Okay. So the proposed map amendment is consistent with the following goals for the comprehensive plan. Economic development goals 1 and 2. Proposed project promotes the development of a local business allowing the business to relocate and expand from an existing property within the town to another property within town limits. And mobility and transportation goal number 6. The project is located within a village overlay which promotes walkability due to the location of the town and providing an 8-foot sidewalk.
I'm ready to make the second motion vote on the decision to recommend approval for the annexation. Rezoning, sorry.
Mr. Daniels made a motion to approve the rezoning for Pressley Animal Hospital. All in favor? The record stand. Motion approved unanimously. Well, Dr. Pressley.